started in a moment. Just give us a moment and we'll get started at 7 o'clock. All right, please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome. This is the Huntingburg Township Board of Supervisors monthly meeting, February 8th, 2003. To start off by saying that we do have a Zoom option. I don't know if anyone is calling in.
There is 3 people on Zoom.
3 people? Thank you. All right, and I'll call the meeting to order. In accordance with Resolution 2-2012, you are informed that Scott Steele's and Vincent Drive is recording tonight's meeting for posting on YouTube. This meeting is also available and being recorded electronically on Zoom. All right, I'd like, if you're following along on the agenda, item 3, we're asking for a moment of silence. We lost one of our staff members. His name was Doug Given, and we're sad to learn that his sudden passing. He had been a member of the road crew, and so and he passed away on January 2023. I'll take a moment of silence. All right, thank you for that indulgence and moving ahead. So the first thing, open forum on action items on the agenda. What I'm going to turn to this side of the room. Any questions or comments that anyone would have this evening? If you do, if you could come to the mic and give your name and your street. I'll turn to this side of the room. Any questions, comments on tonight's agenda? Oh, I do see it, Dan. Please, sorry, go forward.
Somebody in front of me who's going to go.
Thank you, Shane.
It's Jane Haddon, with Workford L. Road.
Okay.
Looking over the agenda, so it wasn't noted in there, but item 10 and 4B were both recommended against by the Planning Commission, and I'm hoping that the supervisors follow their lead. 4B, we have an ordinance that states how many trees we're supposed to have, but we don't have any required number of trailers, and I think there are plenty of places to fit trees in over there. And that's good for now. Thank you.
You're talking about under new business.
Was that? Yeah.
Yeah, under new business. That was 4B and 10.
Yeah. Those are coming with action items.
All right. Thank you, Shane.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
My name is James Doyle, the law firm Gotham Freewood in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I have been retained by the Foxbrook Homeowners Association with respect to agenda item number 12 tonight, motion to authorize / not authorize the township manager and solicitor to begin the process of accepting the Foxbrook Parkland for dedication. I'd like to make a comment now, or if it may please the board, wait until that item is up for discussion.
And should we do now or do we wait? All right. Please go ahead.
Sure. Well, at this time and juncture, given that the association is virtually unaware of what the township's plans are with respect to this parcel of land, the association's board of directors are adamantly opposed to the dedication. If the motion passes tonight, the association will continue to oppose it up until the time there is a meeting between the parties to discuss and agree upon the terms, conditions, and parameters of the dedication. May I refer you to, and Ms. Cole is aware of this, I did send a letter in yesterday evening, section 8.02 of the Declaration of Covenants, Restrictions, and Easements affecting the Foxbrook Homeowners Association. And I'm quoting directly from the declaration. In the event that the township is willing to assume the ownership or responsibility for the parkland, then the terms and conditions of such transfer or dedication thereof by the association to the township shall be as determined by the association's board of directors in the township. So, if the motion passes tonight, we do request that the association has a large hand in this process and would hope that the township and association can arrange a meeting to address such.
Okay. This question, will you be available when we get to that item?
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, do I see anyone else? Yes, over here.
Valerie Schultz, 165 Gateway Court. Just to reiterate about the two variances that the Planning Commission has recommended be rejected. Comments were made at the last workshop that we, are really focused on making sure we have technically competent people on these boards, which I think we do, and there was a very good discussion at that Planning Commission, which Mike was not present at, where they mentioned why they rejected those two variances. I would hope that the board listens very carefully to the commissions and the committees that are making these recommendations and doesn't give a no position vote that sets up the zoning board for failure and doesn't give the zoning board the backing that they need and deserve. And I really don't think Mike, based on his input, to ask you to give no position, was looking out for the best interest of the township. Second thing, I just want to mention about the line item that's on for the township manager getting a significant raise. That is going to be a significant raise over what he got as his opening salary. And given the fact that many people in this community are living paycheck to paycheck right now, I'm extremely worried about where this money is coming from, in addition to the money that you guys are going to have to secure in order to take over the HOA land for Foxborough. So I think that needs to be addressed, where this money is going to come from, especially when we already had a finalized budget in hand. So, when you go to those items, if you could address that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Do I hear any other? Yes, back here.
My name is Dave Rogers, 458 Mount Pleasant Road, Honeybrook. Long-standing member of Board of Special Exceptions here in Honeybrook. I've had multiple emails, phone calls, and the upcoming attorney that's coming to be the new solicitor for us contact me and tell me that John Reel will be removed from the board and Darlene will be put on as a board member. Since this is a appointed position from the supervisors, I'd like to know why this is taking place.
Certainly. So if you recall, Dave, when you joined, you were trained by Frank Fridella, and I understand, did an excellent job training you and Darlene. He gave good feedback, saying both of you have excellent skills. And Darlene has had some experience, several years' experience on that zoning hearing board. So when Frank stepped down, the expectation was that she was going to fill that vacancy. Instead, we took someone with no experience, came on board, and that was John Reel. So in the case of John, he still has our respect, and he will be able to fulfill the job that Darlene has been doing. But if we're facing all these different issues, these zoning issues, and I have someone with greater experience, I feel that we're going into this with a better experienced person on that zoning hearing board. That's the position that I was taking on that.
But this also has to be a voted on position, is that correct?
Yes, the board approves that.
Okay, so as an upstanding member of the board, if I feel that there's someone more qualified to be chairman of the supervisors, could I ask you for your public resignation tonight?
It's appointed by the board of supervisors.
But if I would ask you for your public resignation here tonight, it's basically what you're trying to vote in to John Reel, am I correct?
I think I've lost your train of thought. My rationale is that if I'm going to have people approach on these serious matters for the township, I want my best, a better qualified person, I have someone with stronger experience, which she has had. So I'll ask you the question, do you feel that Darlene doesn't have the experience to fill that position?
That's not the question. The question is, why is it taking 3 years? Don't interrupt me while I'm talking. Thank you. The question is, why is it taking 3 years to come to this position?
Because of appointments, or there was this is upcoming, and both of them were up for appointments.
Yes,
We don't
you
do
can't
it in the
appoint.
middle of an appointment, I don't swap them out in the middle of the appointment.
So if your opinion would be that Darlene's more qualified than myself or Jeff Umberger, then you could just take it upon yourself to switch people as you feel is random.
No, it's not the case, because I did have a conversation with Frank Friedella, who has your respect, so I understand, and, he speaks very highly of you, Darlene. We didn't have the opportunity to provide John that level of training that he had in the past. We had a very confident and capable zoning hearing board for a number of years. This past year, we had some very serious issues come up here, and, if we're going to have other situations come up, I want to make sure I've got the best people on the board. Now, I'm not diminishing John's skills, I'm saying he doesn't have the experience that Darlene has. And based on the feedback that I received from Frank, in fact, I just had a conversation with him today, and he confirmed. He said, Darlene definitely has the skills to do the job as a full member and to support you and Jeff on that zoning hearing board. So it's nothing personal. I think it's trying to find what's in the best interest of the community.
Well, as a member of the board, to speak for the board, at least speak for myself,
Yes, go ahead.
I feel that it's improper, and if John's term is up to be a board member, as it's past history for years and years in Honeybrook Township, that a member follows his position, I feel John should stay in his position and Darlene should stay in his position. If this was such a worthy matter, this should have been discussed 3 years ago, not at present time.
Well, when the vote came up, there was already 2 votes on that point, so I agree that point, but when I went back to speak to Darlene, she was blindsided. She said she thought she was going to be moved into that member position. Nobody had confirmed to it. In fact, from what I understand, when you met for the first time, the expectation from you and John was that Darlene was the member, and that John came in as the alternate. That's the feedback I got from the zoning hearing board.
Well, I would like for it to be a vote amongst the supervisors to see.
All those appointments happened, voted on. You saw it in the January meeting. What we put off the zoning hearing board because there were, from the top, the solicitor position right on through. So we postponed those appointments for this meeting for tonight.
So there will be a vote tonight then.
It will come up, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Dave, you and I have talked. I appreciate the work that you've done. So I don't understand why there's we've always been able to talk through these things.
Well, to me, it just, I kind of feel as lifetime resident of Honeybrook that there's some backdoor things going on, because if I wouldn't have been told this by several emails and an attorney, I would have never known this is happening. And when an appointed member is an appointed member, and you try and backdoor him off the chair, that's very
It's not
rude.
Yeah, just as to process, there's no backdooring. People are appointed for a term length by the Board of Supervisors. They have no vested right. During the length of that term, they are part of that board. But at the end of that term, they have no right to stay there unless the board chooses to put them back on that position. And so there's
Board of
nothing.
Supervisors?
The Board of Supervisors appoints the members of the zoning hearing board. And so what is on the table is a vacancy due to the prior term that was held by John, right? Expired. So his term ended.
So I personally have come up for 2 terms, and each term that I have came up for, the solicitor had came to me personally and said, would you like to stay on the board? I've never had it voted through the
It
supervisor.
has absolutely been voted on. It gets voted on every year at the beginning of the year, at the
I was unaware of
reorganization
that.
meeting. Correct. We ask typically if people are interested in serving, because we're not going to appoint you if you don't want to continue. So where someone is slated to potentially be reappointed, we'll ask for, confirmation of interest, but there's no guarantee until the board takes formal action to put you essentially back in that seat for another term. And so we're just at the end of John's term, and it's up to the board how they choose to fill that for the next term for that seat.
And
It's to be, I want everyone to understand how that happens.
thank you, Beth. And one final note, Dave, you did bring up a good point, and that is the acknowledgement, and we just appointed someone on the Parks and Rec, and I just had a phone call from someone on the Parks and Rec saying that they've never seen a resume, or that they didn't know anything about the potential appointment that's coming up tonight. So that's what I requested. Warren's doing a great job, but just, in a case like that, we just have to remind them, as a courtesy, people are, as yourself, you're doing this on your time. Well, most of us on these committees are not getting paid anything, and we should show the courtesy and acknowledgement when we make the appointments to say congratulations, you were appointed. We haven't been doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Do I hear? Yes, I have a few hands to shut up. Would you like to go ahead?
Thank you. Debbie Elmer, 256 Goldberg Drive.
Yes.
I did want to ask about at the January 3rd meeting.
Yes.
Number 21, the solicitor, Charles Hall, and that might have been what Howard was referring to, I'm not sure. That one was also being, you know what I mean? Cable, thank you.
Yes.
So I was curious when Charles paused, I had looked back on him, and did we have problems with him in the past that we don't want to retain him as the attorney?
Well, as far as the appointment is concerned, do you want to pick up on
Yeah,
that?
I can address that. So I've been serving as solicitor to the board here for a number of years. Through my prior law firm, which was Hartman, Valeriano, Government Lutz. As of mid-January, I have changed law firms.
Okay.
And I actually am now working at the same law firm that Mr. Hawes is employed at.
Okay.
The board had reappointed me as Beth Cole as solicitor in January. And you cannot have the same attorney or law firm serve as solicitor to the township and the zoning hearing board.
Okay.
So in conversations with, frankly, my firm change, Mr. Hawes agreed so that I could continue representing the board for consistency for the township. He is no longer even really an option because I'm continuing to serve as township solicitor. So this evening, what's on the agenda is an appointment of someone else to fill that zoning hearing board solicitor role.
Thank you for clarifying that, I feel better. Thank
Very
you.
well.
Do I hear any other hands? Oh, yes, I see you back here. Good evening, John.
Good evening. John Riddle, 496 Mount Pleasant Road. Currently was serving on the zoning hearing board and did know that it is coming up for reappointment. Was not aware that it was considered to change till this week when residents started asking me, why are you stepping down? They were told that I'm stepping down, and I'm wondering where that came from because it would be appointed. And I did not have said I'm stepping down. I had talked with two of the supervisors in January and told them both that I would be willing to continue serving. At the same time, I'm not saying that I am more qualified than Darlene, because Darlene has been here longer, but I was born and raised in Honeybrook Township. I love this township. There is a lot of growth going on. I really wish we could slow it down. I remember growing up, I grew up Amish. I remember growing up, driving from Mount Pleasant Road to the square of Honeybrook in a horse and buggy, and you pulled off to the side one time because there was two vehicles behind you. They don't even bother pulling off anymore because they'd be on the side of the road the whole time. So we got to figure out how to slow this down. I'm not saying I'm more qualified than anybody else, but I have a heart for Honeybrook Township, and I want to see it thrive. We always need growth. Growth is good. But why are we making it at the same time, making it harder for the farmer to take 2 acres of ground off of his farm for one of his children? But we're allowing 144, anywhere from 150 to 400 homes on a 200-acre parcel of ground. So, not saying I know the zoning laws better than anybody else, but I have been studying the zoning laws a lot in the past 3 years. And I have a concern for Honeybrook Township. I just ask you to take that into consideration on your appointing this evening. Thank you.
And John, thanks for your comment. And we did have a conversation, and I did have the opportunity to speak to Darlene as well. So I'm weighing it not as, you're not qualified, because we do still need someone filling that alternate position. And I feel confident that either one of you can. It's just the level of experience, the confirmation that I got from Frank, who did an excellent job for us all these years. Thank you for your time. Yes?
Karen Custer Force, 287 Horseshoe Pike. I agree with many of the statements that were made here already. My concern is, one thing is in regards to Keystone Court. I've been a Honeybroker all my life. I've been here just like him before all these developments came. These trailers are smashed in like sardines, and you can't provide the adequate amount of trees based on the land. They tore down a forest behind the park, that I used to walk through to go down to catch the train, So they cut all those trees down, and you can't put an extra 20 trees in. How about eliminating, 10 homes, 10 trailers, even 15 at that point? They're all smushed in like sardines. I don't know if people realize, but when a trailer goes up in fire, it takes like 5 minutes. And they are so close together, it's just going to go right down the road. So I hope that when that comes up, that you do not grant the waiver. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Charles Hannah, 49 Windswept Lane, Honeybrook, PA. On number 18, the approval of the replacement heater on the other side, I just wondered, one, have we used any means to fix the one that's here other than the contractor put it in? There's leak resolve for hydraulic systems, and there's also different flow managers that you can put in. And then there was said that there was 3 bids, but were all 3 from the same guy? Or did we get 3 different HVAC companies giving bids?
We will have the opportunity to discuss that when that item comes up. Unless you want to take a discussion now. When the item comes up. All right.
Okay, and then on 19, the increase of the salary. Police Chief Wilson was here last week. He said if he could get $40,000, he could do 40 hours a week in police coverage in the township. How that's not more important than increasing someone's salary by 25%, I don't understand. So I would hope that you guys would think about that before you vote tonight.
Thanks. Thank you for your comment. Do we have any comments on Zoom? I don't hear any comments. Does that end the comments on the agenda? All right, we'll move on. Thank you everyone for your comments.
Just a note for the
Yes, go ahead.
board. We're still waiting on an item from, I have a partial draft of the Land Press Committee meeting, but it's not complete,
All right.
and which is why it was not in your board pack.
Yes.
Also, we did not receive draft minutes from Rec and Park and their meeting. So I would request that the board consider the consent agenda except for items 6 and 7.
All right, we're going to move to the consent agenda. So we have called out item, I'm sorry, did that back to me again? I'm going to start with.
That's okay. Items 6 and 7.
Okay. I wanted to, but I'm sure. All right. And any comments on any item on the consent agenda? All right, do I hear a motion to accept the full consent agenda without the items 6 and 7?
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You know, getting back to the paper copy, there's some song. All right, now we get to our department reports. I don't see Mr. Johnson, Don Johnson present, so do we have any update? Go ahead.
Yes, Don did give me his report.
All right.
He let us know that the roads crew is still cutting dead trees and limbs that are a hazard to traffic that are along the roadside. They still have more to cut. There's quite a bit of devastation with the Emerald Ash Borer. They're also fixing inlet boxes that needed repair, and they are also cleaning out ditches in spots. And they had a chance to salt the roads on February 1st. So it's been a mild winter so far, but we do have quite a bit of salt on hand, so it was good to be able to use some of that on that icy morning. And then that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Kristen, for the public work update. Go ahead for the administration update.
All right, because of the timing of the month, the second Tuesday is actually taking place after tonight's meeting, so I don't have an update from the Honeybrook Community Partnership, but I will at the March meeting. So their meeting is next Tuesday. As of February 1st, the Zoom link to each meeting is now appearing at the top of the posted agenda, so hopefully that will make it easier for folks and takes a step out of the process. Once the agenda is posted, anyone who has clicked on the subscribe button on the meeting portal will receive an email with a link to the agenda, and then the Zoom link is at the top. We now have 8 subscribers. We only had 3 last month. Remember that the iCompass Meetings portal has the agenda in minutes, but it's not the link to the meeting. The link is on the agenda itself, to the Zoom link. And live meetings are through Zoom, and then Mr. Stolzen's recording is on his Honeybrook Fresh Air YouTube channel, so that is different. All 3 of you supervisors are going to PSAT's convention this year, so that's great. They are doing the parade of flags again, so if any of you are anxious to be our flag bearer at the opening ceremony, well, let me know. The deadline to sign up for that is March 23rd. Also, we got a save the date email for the spring Chester County Association of Township Officials meeting. It will be on Thursday, May 25th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Desmond Hotel in Malvern.
Yes.
Registration is not open, they just wanted us to know the date. And lastly, the township office will be closed on Monday, February 20, in observance of President's Day. And that's all I have.
Yeah, the Cato Spring Conference, the conference was supposed to be in March, but the hotel wasn't booked, so I think that May. Thank you, Christy. We'll go to Warren for the township manager update.
Ask me that you accept my written report as noted. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them to the board. We are working on some preliminary build-outs of our website, so we got sent one version last week. I reviewed it with the staff and gave them some feedback so that they give us help. Once we have what we believe a decent looking this month, it won't be live, but it'll allow us to work through it, utilize it, change things, get trainings, and it all goes to plan on the website will launch.
As far as the website, if we have an opportunity for a public comment, let's take a look at what we've added, and if there's anything that we should be considering adding to the website.
So they're gonna build out colors, layout, buttons. When we get it from that February 20th to March 20th, it'll be a hyperlink, so if we share it with someone, someone can go look, it won't be searchable on the internet itself, but we'll be training advanced users in-house, and they'll be able to add web pages, add pull-downs, essentially, we're going to train how to update, keep change, and so if we get feedback, we don't have to go back to the web developer, although we can ask, our staff will be trained to make those changes.
Just, I guess we do that in public comment, if anyone's interested in providing any input. We have some good examples of websites throughout the county. The Cato website is actually the same platform that we're using.
Civic Web.
Yes. All right, thank you, Warren. And Land Preservation Committee, Shane, do you have anything to this evening?
Sure. First off, I apologize about the minutes. Still getting used to the Civic Web. I don't have full rights to add minutes.
Yep.
So we're kind of between minutes formats and again, mixed up. But we had a great turnout for the farmers breakfast back in January. Getting some new interest in the program and also starting some new outreach efforts. Quick status report, we've got just over 5,300 acres preserved in the township at the moment. And there are still 6,500 acres that are preservable. To look at that another way, that's space for almost 20,000 houses at D.R. Horton density. Land preservation remains our best long-term solution to limiting development in the township. If you think about the cost of 50 acres of townhomes versus the cost of 50 acres of corn, none of those corn stalks need to cram into our schools. Downey doesn't have to worry about plowing those cornfields like you would have to worry about plowing the roads in the development. Corn doesn't use a toilet, we send more burden to the wastewater plant, and a field of corn is not going to need more police. So the more money we preserve, the more money we can save over the long term in service providing. Everybody in the township is always welcome to come to Land Preservation Committee meetings. The next one's going to be right here on April 18th, 7 p.m. You're always welcome to ask questions, and I look forward to open discussion. So, thank you very much.
I do have a question for clarification. So, as far as the farms that are being pursued for conservation easements, are you following a priority map, or is this wide open and any available farmland could qualify for the conservation easement?
At the moment, yeah, we do have 6,500 acres that are eligible. Most of that is, the majority of that is prime soils.
Right.
There's also a lot of value in water quality for preserving woodland and wetlands and other areas. So at the moment, we welcome everyone to apply, and we do consider it on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
There are a number of qualifications and a number of factors that go into ranking for eligibility. But at the moment, we're just focused on welcoming anybody to come in and talk to us.
Well, do appreciate that we're trying to pursue as much farmland as we can, but what the previous committee has done is to go through a series of qualifications and identifying what farmland would be ideal for that conservation easement with the support of the township. I mean, there's other programs for farms that are not of high quality to go through the county or the state, or there's some federal programs. So that reduces our out-of-cost pocket expenses. And at some point, we can narrow down exactly the remaining cost of this program. Because we're going into our 17th year of a program that was initially a 20-year program, but then it was left to be wide open. And I think we keep, and it's not the committee itself, but when I look at some of those priority maps, there's additional farmland added to it with each subsequent update to this program document. which means an expansion of cost. So, for instance, the last time, there was an increase of several farms, and if you go by the current market value, that was an additional $2 million of potential easements there. I think we have to focus on what properties we need to put through the program, and then the others would be secondary. There's funding from other programs. That's something that we should be addressing. Do you follow what I said?
Yeah, and we do have a list of basically criteria for what would prioritize over other places. What farms would be a priority versus others that would be lesser priority, should there be contention for resources. And we do take very seriously the stewardship of the township taxpayer money.
Good.
We have, I feel we've always operated in a very conservative fashion, and definitely tried to keep the interests of the township citizens.
And Shane, you and the committee have done a very good job of just making sure that the focus is on what's contained in the Honeybrook Land Preservation Program document. So within those boundaries of what the board has approved, because the board is responsible for,
Yeah, speaking just as a citizen who voted for the program, I didn't vote for a 20-year program. I voted for a program that keeps going until the job is done. Respectfully, sir.
Yes. It was initially on the resolution, the 20-year, and then when the resolution was passed, they took out the 20-year. But that's initially what we had worked with. All right. Jay, thank you again for the comments.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. All right, planning commission. So we have Mike here. We also have Darren here.
Gary, do you have anything that you want to go over? Just for the board and the public, we do have 2 items that will be on our planning commission meeting for this month.
Yes.
One is a waiver request for the Route 10 market, which we'll be reviewing that and providing guidance to the planning commission for you at that meeting. And then also, if you recall, the Dollar General came in with a presentation, and they'll be submitting a variance request, variances from zoning ordinance, based on a review that we conducted in the special. So that'll be before the planning commission, and again, they'll offer recommendation to this group, and then you'll make a recommendation to the zoning hearing board prior to their application moving forward with hearings.
All right.
And that's all I have in this area. Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we go with we have Park and Recreation. We have an update on that. Okay. It does it for the department reports then. Actually, we did have, I see you stepped away. We did have Kevin here, I think he might be in the lobby. All right, let's get to new business. All right. The first item of new business, approve and not approve a list of bills for payments as prepared by the treasurer. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? Aye. All right. Zoning hearing board appointments. So the first would be a motion to appoint, not appoint, Hartman, Valeriano, McGovern, and Lutz, PC, as solicitor for the Honeybrook Township Zoning Hearing Board, subject to confirmation by the Zoning Hearing Board. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to appoint Hartman.
All right.
Valerio McGovern.
I'll second.
Hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Second item, motion to appoint, not appoint, law office of Alexander Elliker as conflicts counselor for Honeybrook Township Zoning Hearing Board, subject to confirmation by the Zoning Hearing Board. Before we get to that, Beth, just quick summary on that one, that motion.
Well, I think the thought here is that there could be matters that, so because you've appointed Hartman Valeriano, which was the law firm previously serving the township, there could be matters where, with them now shifting into the zoning hearing board solicitor role, a conflict of interest could exist because they were involved in some township matter as solicitor, that they couldn't be a neutral party for the zoning hearing board, and so this would be essentially, an alternate solicitor to serve the zoning hearing board on those specific matters until they arise.
And as far as the line items for a solicitor, it's not going to be an increase in that line unless as needed. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
So for the budget line?
Yes.
So we just set a budget, John, based upon what we look at on average, zoning hearing board year to be. Obviously, last year it went over because we had more hearings. So the set fee per hour is gonna remain the same. The fluctuation is if we have 12 zoning hearing board hearings or 20, that will definitely either inflate or deflate that line item, but the material cost of service for conflict counsel should be in line with the zoning hearing board.
Thank you for that, Warren. And I did have that explanation ahead of time. I just want to make sure that people understand why we're adding additional solicitor, in this case, conflict one. All right, so do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to appoint.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion to adopt resolution 2023-2, appointing, and okay, we have a blank here, for, to the zoning hearing board for a 3-year term to December 31st, 2025. Do I hear a nominee for that? I don't see a name there.
I'll make a motion to appoint John Real.
I'll make the motion to appoint Darlene.
Well, you have a motion on the table.
Okay, so that's it.
Wait for a second.
Second, yes.
And then for
Procedure,
everyone
yes.
else, and
Do I hear a
motion
second
I'm gonna second that
for
motion.
John Real? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
And I would say nay.
Do you want to say?
I said nay. I know it's fair to say nay.
No, it's okay. I just
All
wanted
right.
to be clear for Christie was next.
Got it. Okay, so then we said if necessary,
So, just as a point of clarification, so Darlene O'Leary's term as alternate is not up. So,
okay.
if the decision were to have been made for her to
Then we have to-
be the board member, then she would have an unexpired term that would need to be filled. But since that did not happen,
Then we'll pass
then
on that.
we can drop that.
All right.
So,
I just want to say that I appreciate members of the zoning hearing board coming out to give their opinion, and I think it's important that we listen to people that are on the zoning hearing board.
Which we have to do as board for several years. Thank you. All right, we can move ahead to item 3. I have a motion to appoint Warren Obisky as tertiary representative to the Western Chester County Council of Governments for 2023. So do I hear a motion to appoint?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Item 4, grant not grant the following waivers for Keystone Court expansion. And that's 2140 Horseshoe Pike. Parcel number 22-8-85.1B. Do we have a motion to grant?
I don't know.
I should ask, yeah. Do we have someone representing? Yes.
You do.
Good.
My name is Gina Gerber, I'm an attorney with Ryan Draper.
All
I am
right.
here this evening on behalf of the applicant. As you've indicated, we're here for final plan approval. You have seen this plan both at the zoning hearing board approval process, you also saw it during preliminary plan, so I'm sure you're all very familiar with this at this point in time. We're expanding the mobile home, existing mobile home community to 83 lots. We are doing some significant landscaping as well as some stormwater improvements on the lot. The landscaping plan is subject to a couple of waivers that we're asking for this evening. The planning commission did recommend approval of one of those, did not recommend approval of the other. I think they're pretty simple waivers. I mean, they are asked for this evening as to the number of evergreen trees that we're proposing on the property. The ordinance will require 129. The plan is proposing 94. The reason for that discrepancy is, if you recall, along the eastern border of this property, there are a number of encroachments from the neighboring mobile home park that we are addressing. We are dealing with in course as we go through this development, but because of those encroachments, there's a lot of confusion along that property line, which doesn't allow for a ton of landscaping to be put in on that side of the site. Additionally, there are some stormwater improvements that are going in a majority of the western portion of the site. that is also limiting our ability to put in the evergreen trees. And there was a discussion with the planning commission about being able to fit, I think, 8 additional trees on the site, and I'm happy to have our engineer speak to that this evening, but, you know, if it's the board's preference, we would be able to up that number of 94 proposed up to 102, but I think at that point, after speaking with our landscape architect, that we would kind of be maxed out at that point. We want to make sure that the trees that we're putting in are going to be viable, that they're going to be able to live, and that we're not putting them in areas where there is already dense screening and buffering throughout the site. So they're not, so that when we are putting in new trees and new saplings that we want to take root, they're not going to be competing with something that's already mature in our site, so they're not going to be, you know, rooted out, for lack of a better term. The other waiver that we're requesting is with regard to a double row of evergreen in the western portion of the site. Again, this is related to the fact that we can't encroach too far on the onto the stormwater area. So you'll see that we've complied with that to a point where we're asking for just a partial waiver with regard to that particular section. So that, you know, we're happy to answer any questions. We're happy to go into detail as to any of the waivers or anything that they proposed on the plan this evening. I do have my client here this evening, so if you have any questions about the use, but I think you probably already did enough of that when we're here. And we do have our engineer this evening, if there's any technical questions.
Board members, do we have any questions? None? All right. Doesn't appear there are any questions for you. I'm going to go ahead to vote. Thank you. All right, so we have 4A, waiver for 22.629.3.B. The subdivision and land development ordinance regarding the screening of the western property line, provided 3 additional evergreen trees are planted. Do I hear a motion to grant?
So we're just voting on 4A right now, right?
That's what I call that.
I'll make the motion to grant that.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, for item 4B, waiver from 22-629.5 of the Saldo to allow for a reduction in the number of required evergreen plantings from 129 to 102, which is the explanation. So, do I hear a motion to grant? Having heard none, do I hear a motion not to grant? Item 4B. All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All right, and then all in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, now move to item 5. Grant the conditional final plan approval for Keystone Court expansion final land development plan, number 2023-1, 2140 Horseshoe Pike, parcel number 22-8-85.1B, expansion from 47 units to 83.
John, this is just a question for the board. Obviously, because there was a motion to not grant the one waiver, I would suggest that we confirm with the applicant that they're willing to comply with the requirement that was denied under the previous motion, that they'll provide those additional trees either elsewhere on the plan or in some other fashion. So I guess that would be a question for Gene at this time.
After having conferred with our civil engineer, he did advise that we can figure something out.
All right,
So as long as that's acknowledged, you could make that motion at this point, condition on compliance with the Technicon review letter.
all right, do I hear a motion to grant the conditional final plan approval with the condition of the Technicon letter? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Move to item 6, grant, not grant. An extension of time to D.R. Horton for the Arbor Glen Land Development Subdivision 2207 Horseshoe Pike and 2351 Chestnut Tree Parcel, tax parcels 22-8-53, 22-8-16.5 to and we extended to May 10, 2023. Do I hear a motion to grant an extension of time?
I'll make a motion to grant an extension of time.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 7, grant not grant the extension of time to Upward Investments Project 2022-9 at 5064 Horseshoe Pike, parcel 22-3-63 to April 13, 2023. Do I hear a grant extension of time?
Which one is this 5064?
That's it would be west of the borough. Trying to recall what the existing business is along 322. It's a warehouse on the other side of the street from one B&D's.
Oh, okay.
They're going to be building in the back there. Yeah, they've been in one time with planning and in addition to trying to address these comments.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to grant these.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Item 8, take a position of support, not support, no position on zoning hearing, application 2023-1, Ben Real variance 2707 Cambridge Road, parcel 22-6-33.
And just as a refresher for the board, this was the proposed subdivision of an agricultural lot that exceeds the 2-acre maximum. And they're creating a 3-acre lot, and those variances are related to that. So, Planning Commission took a position, no position on that item.
So do I hear a position? I'm taking no position.
It's a recommendation to the zoning hearing board. You can either
Correct. Yeah.
support the request, not support the request, or take no position.
So the minimum lot size is 2 acres and they're going to have 3.
Right, when you create a new residential lot in the ag district, the maximum, it can only be a minimum 1 acre or a maximum of 2 acres. They're proposing 3 acres. So that's what the request is related to. They need some additional land area to create the new lot that they want to have a new house on that.
Yeah. No position. All right, I hear a motion to take no position. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Item 9, take a position of support, no support, no position on zoning hearing application 2023-2, Christian Stoltzfus variance, 410 Broad Street, parcel 22-9-1.
And this one is, if you recall, we talked at the workshop meeting as well. This is a subdivision of land of an agricultural lot. The minimum lot acre for an agricultural lot is 10 acres. So the resultant of the subdivision will be one 10-acre lot and one other lot that has a residue of about 9.9 acres. So it just falls short of the 10-acre minimum, and that's what the request is. Planning Commission did offer recommendation support on that application.
There's a question, does that set any precedent for someone else to come in?
It always has a potential, I get it. I mean, Beth obviously can weigh in on
In
that.
zoning matters,
Precedent.
every property has its own nuance, and so the board's gonna have to find, that this property and whatever case the applicant presents satisfies the criteria for a variance. It's always gonna be different because every property is different, so not really unless there's a justification for the
Got it. Thank you. All right, so,
I'll take a position to support.
do I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Item 10, take a position of support, no, not support, no position, zoning hearing application 2023-3, Ryan Holmes variance, Chestnut Ridge stages 2 and 3, parcels 22-8, 52.5, 22.8, 52.4.
Is there someone here on that project?
There's no one present, all right. Do I hear someone take a position on that?
I'm going to make a motion.
Do I hear a second on no position?
I'll take a second on the position.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Did we hear a comment earlier on that item? Yeah.
We did, and I'd actually like to clarify that for the board. Obviously, we talked about this at the workshop meeting. Warren and I had a pre-application meeting with the attorney and the developer, since we were actively involved in Chestnut Ridge. When we met, we talked about the reduction of the rear lot setback, was essentially the discussion. We had several concerns related to that, including stormwater management, how that would affect, and also any encroachments into already developed lots that were within that development. So one of the things that was pointed out as that application came in was the fact that they were still under all ownership of Ryan Homes. None of the lots were developed at that point, so no one was being impacted who was already living in the development. So we also reviewed stormwater calculations, and the facilities were more than adequately, sized for the new lot, the new house layout that they were proposing. So again, when the board asked for my professional opinion of these things, I'm basing it on an engineering and a planning and zoning expertise that I've had for over 20 years. Also, my role is to also look out for the well-being of the township. So when I hear comments made about whether that's being in question, I kind of take pause with that and would take exception to it. So I just want the board to understand that while my recommendation is based on professional expertise, the planning commission recommendation should not be disregarded. Right. Obviously they have discussions from a planning aspect. Those are the residents of the township who live here on a day-to-day basis. And don't take my recommendation as superseding what they're trying to advise the board about. It should be taken in addition to. So I just wanted to point that out to the supervisors and for your future consideration of these applications. And again, we try to view those on a one-on-one basis, case by case. And again, with an eye towards how will that impact the public of the township? Is it creating a detriment, or is it creating a benefit? And those are the reasons behind our recommendations. So, thank you.
Okay, we're now going to item 11. Recreation park vacancy. So, Steve, Stephen.
He was here at the workshop meeting. Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Just as background, we had put out advertisements on our social media. We had announced in a few public meetings the openings. Joel Necker was the only applicant. He came and spoke. His resume is attached. If you recall, he does work for Natural Lands Trust. He does build, if I have it right, facilities. He's in charge of getting facilities built on those sites. His resume is available. I apologize, I did not get it to Park and Rec, however, it was posted on the public agenda last week. We had spoken on the phone, we had spoken in person, he had introduced himself to the board last week. So it's up to the board whether you wish to wait. This is the only application we've received so far, and my opinion, he's has the qualifications for Rec and Park, and I think he would be an asset as a member of the board.
Steve, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening, Steve Longnecker, 1545 Walnut Road. I'm happy to be a part of this community and leave a lasting impression where I can. I have 4 children invested in Twin Valley School District, and I'd like to see them grow up in a situation where park and recreation is some place that they can find peace, tranquility, and leave a lasting impression on Huntingburg. I know this has been a tranquil environment for myself, and came out here during the pandemic, and it's got my life back. So.
All right, thanks. Well, we did have an opportunity earlier to call out for Park and Rec. Kevin, you were to step out for a moment.
I had to step up for calling out. Yeah. Is this for an update?
Well, just, we missed you earlier for the update for the Park and Rec. We didn't have the meeting minutes. Any comment that you have regarding the appointment or anything with the Park and Rec?
No, based on what Warren said, it sounds like he'd be somebody else suited for the board. Welcome.
And I apologize for not getting you the resume, unfortunately, this past week.
All right.
Okay.
I
think we Aye. Opposed? Number 12, motion to authorize, not authorize, the township manager and solicitor to begin process of accepting the Foxborough Park land from dedication. Yes. Do we have any discussion on that?
Do you want Beth to give you some background or?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so just, basic background, we had spoken about this, I think it came up back in perhaps August.
You were made by a township
Yes.
resident that
Right.
there is in fact parkland available.
You're aware there was a question about why the township park wasn't previously built. We looked into that. We found that the Foxborough plans and documents basically identified this tract of land as to be dedicated for township park purposes. And I've, kind of shared with the board my legal opinion that it is in fact available for the township to take dedication. We also talked about the fact that we wanted to be transparent through that process and communicate, as it obviously is in the backyard of Foxbrook, the development. The land currently is deeded to the homeowners association, which is in Holden. Warren did send a letter in, I believe, September, to the HOA advising them just to kind of put the feelers out there. I have not seen that letter, but I think it asked for some feedback. We had not heard anything back from the HOA in response to that letter, as I understand. And so through prior conversations and kind of our legwork, I think our recommendation was that if the board thought this was something worth pursuing, there's going to be lots of hurdles to get through. But we haven't taken any of the next steps